causes the cardiac sphincter muscle to open, allowing food material to get into the stomach. mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, duodenum, ileum, which is also known as small intestines, colon, which is also known as large intestines, rectum, and anus. We have a ring of muscle that separates esophagus from the stomach, known as cardiac sphincter muscle, because it's found around the cardiac region. Another ring of muscle known as pyloric sphincter muscle separates stomach from the duodenum, and the materials from the small intestines enters the large intestine through an opening known as cecum. And then finally, the food materials that were not completely digested and were indigestible, are stored in the rectum in form of feces that can be released through the anus muscles by opening of the muscles to allow the waste materials in form of feces to get out of the body. So this is what we are considering in this video to be food boluses, and because of this model, assuming that boluses chewing has been done, boluses have been formed, and now it is time for the food to get down into the esophagus. This is what normally happens. The walls of the esophagus have circular and longitudinal muscles. When they contract and relax, they form a wave-like motion known as peristalsis that allows food to be pushed into the stomach along esophagus. Take a look. The arrival of the food at the entrance of the stomach causes the cardiac sphincter muscle to open, allowing food material to get into the stomach, and then it closes. In the stomach, we have the muscles producing vigorous contraction and relaxation of the muscles that leads into mixing of stomach substances with the food, forming a semi-liquid substance known as chyme. Food usually stays in the stomach around 3 to 4 hours depending on the type of the food. From there, the pyloric muscle that separates stomach from the duodenum, which is the first portion of small intestine, then opens to allow food get into the small intestine. But as the food goes down the small intestines, we have organs like liver and pancreas. They produce substances that mix with the food that is coming from the stomach. For the pancreas, it produces pancreatic juice, and for the liver, it produces bile, which is stored in the gallbladder. Therefore, this is the gallbladder, and these substances from the liver and from the pancreas mixes with the food as it flows down the small intestines. Remember that the food that is coming from the stomach is acidic, and therefore the substances that are produced by the liver helps in neutralizing the acidic food that is coming from the stomach to become basic, so that the enzymes or the substances that are produced by the pancreas and along the walls of the small intestine can find a basic medium in which they work best. So after food enters the small intestine, the pyloric sphincter muscles close, and the food goes down the small intestine. Remember, the primary function of the small intestine, apart from digestion, is absorption. This is how it happens. Food material enters the large intestine through an opening known as cecum. So once the food arrives here, cecum opens. Food material can be taken up the large intestine, across the large intestines, down the large intestines, and into the rectum, where food is temporarily stored and can be released at will. When the muscles of the anus contract and relax, it causes it to open, releasing food material like this. And then it closes.